Emotional immaturity refers to an inability to handle and express emotions in a manner that matches your age or your life stage. Just because you're a certain age does not mean your emotional maturity is going to match that. For instance, it's typical for a teenager to sulk for days after a conflict with their parents. But when a parent engages in similar behavior, such as pouting for a prolonged period, it suggests there could be some emotional immaturity. An emotionally immature parent might either let their emotions run wild, they get very emotionally dysregulated, or react in ways that don't fit the situation. They often struggle with understanding, processing, and communicating their feelings. Experts do suggest that emotional immaturity stems often from unresolved trauma, insecure attachments in early life, and a lack of self-awareness and self-reflection. So here's some signs that you grew up with an emotionally immature parent. Or if you are a parent and you see this, then these are some areas you really want to work on. Like I said in my last video, I talked at length about the importance of being self-aware and working on ourselves. So the first one is maybe they had a lack of empathy. So when you had challenges as a child, such as being bullied at school, a parent that's struggling with their emotional immaturity didn't know how to give emotional support. They may have brushed it off, been unable to validate your experience or recognize your feelings. They dismissed your emotions. So if your parent consistently urged you to stop crying or get over it or you'll be okay, they probably struggled with some emotional immaturity. And so they kind of caused you to suppress how you felt. And you know, that was kind of how people did things years ago. So some of that came into play also. They avoid difficult emotions. Instead of addressing uncomfortable situations, they may have relied on defense mechanisms such as denial or deflecting or blame, making it hard to confront real issues. They fail to take accountability. So emotionally immature parents often shift something maybe they're doing onto others. If you were made to feel guilty for things that weren't your fault, they may have been avoiding owning up to their own mistakes because they just didn't know how to do that. They put their needs first. So if your parent likely prioritized their emotions over yours, making their feelings the focal point of every situation. So you are struggling and they're saying, well, what about me? They have a lot of control. They may have demanded unwavering loyalty from you, expecting you to follow their lead without question. This is a big one, confiding in you, especially as a child, inappropriately. But even as an adult, emotionally immature parents often blur boundaries, using their child as an emotional confidant, which is placed an unfair burden on you, and that just really should never be done. They downplay your successes. Instead of celebrating your achievements, they may have dismissed them or failed to show genuine pride in the things you've accomplished. And that usually comes from a place of low self-esteem that can actually even create a little bit of jealousy. They resist change. They were likely uncomfortable with new ideas or changes, preferring to stick to what they knew and felt secure in. So when you try to do something different, there was a lot of pushback. They make you responsible for their happiness. So you may have felt, or you still feel, as though you're held accountable for their emotional well-being, with any perceived failure to meet their expectations. That leads to guilt and manipulation. And that comes around like when you're supposed to come in and join holidays with them or do certain things for them. And if you don't, then they're not happy and you're to blame. They took, or they still take, everything personally. So easily offended, quick to assume that your actions or decisions were a reflection on them. And you'll hear statements like, oh, I must have been a terrible parent, or I just never get it right. I don't even know why I try. Struggle to provide guidance. Emotionally immature parents often have difficulty offering helpful advice or support when it's needed. And then the last one is they rarely apologize. So even when clearly in the wrong, they often avoid acknowledging their mistakes or offering a sincere apology. You know, and no, most people don't have all of these traits, but truly, even a few of them can be very impactful if you have that as you're growing up. But really, my bigger message here is let's let go of the past and let's move forward and really start making some changes here. Now, if you are the child that was affected by this, in my next video, I'm going to be talking about that. What do you do if you've been affected by having an emotionally immature parent? Now, I believe if they've worked on that and they've changed, that probably is not a problem anymore because that does resolve things. But if they're still stuck there, then there are definitely some things you need to do. On the other hand, I want to talk to the parent that might be listening and probably getting upset with me right now, but I want you to take a pause and ask yourself, are there some areas on here that I need to work on? And if so, I'm going to have another video that's going to talk about how can we do this. And it may be that you've worked on a lot of these, and I hope so, but there might still be a couple that you really want to put some work into. Again, if you didn't watch my last video, please go watch it because I fully acknowledged that many of these traits were the ones I had, not all of them, but there was enough of them that it really did affect my children. But the great thing is, when I got to a place of my own personal healing and I was able to change these traits and characteristics, it had a huge impact on my adult children and on our relationship. So I want to encourage you to don't get defensive if you're a parent. Look within yourself and ask yourself, is there something I can learn here? If you're the adult child, I'm going to have a video that's going to help you to navigate that situation with grace and honor, but still setting good boundaries. So join me in my next video.